Welcome friends, welcome to my channel Knowledge Seekers. Please don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon for the notification of next video. Today we discuss about literary periods of British literature. For ease of study, literary scholars divided British into segments referred to as period. While the exact number, dates and names of these periods vary, the following lists confirm to widespread acceptance. Following the tables in chronicle orders is a brief description of each period and major writers within it. The first period of British literature starts from 450 and ends in 1066. The name of first period is Old English or Anglo-Saxon period. The second period starts from 1066 to 1500, and the name of that period is Middle English period. The next period is the Renaissance period, start from 1500 and ends on 1660. The next period is Elizabethan age, starts from 1558 and ends on 1603. The next period is Jacobean age, starts from 1603 and ends on 1625. The next period is Caroline age, starts from 1625 and ends on 1649. The next period is Commonwealth period, also known as Puritan Interregnum, starts from 1649 and ends on 1660. The next period is Neoclassical period, starts from 1660 and ends on 1785. The next period is the Restoration, starts from 1660 and ends on 1700. The next period is the Augustan Age or the Age of Pop, starts from 1700 and ends on 1745. Next period, the Age of Sensibility or Age of Johnson, starts from 1745 and ends on 1785. The next age is the Romantic period, starts from 1785 and ends on 1830. The next age is the Victorian period, starts from 1832 and ends on 1901. The next is the Pre-Raphaelites, starts from 1848 and ends on 1860. The next period is Asceticism and Detense, starts from 1880 and ends on 1901. The next is the Advarian period, starts from 1901 and ends on 1914. The next is Georgian period, starts from 1910 and ends on 1936. And the next one is the modern period, starts from 1914 and ends on 1945. The postmodern period is related to 1945 to present. The Old English period or the Anglo-Saxon periods refer to the literature produced from the invasion of Celtic England by Germanic tribes in the first half of 15th century to the conquest of England in 1066 by William the Conqueror. During the Old English period, written literature began to develop from oral tradition, and in the 18th century, poetry written in the vernacular Anglo-Saxons appeared. One of the most well-known 18th century Old English pieces of literature is Beowulf, a Germanic epic poem. Two poets of the Old English period who wrote on biblical and religious themes were Caedmon and Sunwolf. The Middle English period consists of literature produced in the 4.5 centuries between the Norman conquest of 1066 and about 1500, when the standard literary language derived from the dialect of the London area became recognizable as modern English. Prior to the second half of the 14th century, vernacular literature consisted primarily of religious writings. The second half of the 14th century produced the first great age of secular literature. The most widely known of these writings, Geoffrey Chaucer's The Contemporary Tale, The Anonymous Sir Gawain, and The Green Knight, and the Thomas Morley Morte the author. While the English Renaissance began with the ascent of the House of Tudor to the English throne in 1485, the English literary Renaissance began with the English humanists such as Sir Thomas More and Sir Thomas Watt. The English literary Renaissance consists of four subsets: the Elizabethan Age, the Jacobean Age, the Caroline Age, and the Commonwealth period, which is also known as Puritan Interregnum. The Elizabethan Age of English literature coincides with the reign of Elizabeth I, 1558 to 1603. During this time, medieval tradition was blended with Renaissance optimism. Lyric poetry, prose, and drama were the major styles of literature that flowered during the Elizabethan age. Some important writers of the Elizabethan age includes William Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, Edmund Spenser, Sir Walter Raleigh, and Ben Jonson. The Jacobean age of English literature coincides with the rise of James I, 1603 to 1625. During this time, the literature becomes sophisticated, sober, and conscious of social abuse and rivalry. The Jacobean age produced rich prose and drama, as well as the King James translation of the Bible. Shakespeare and Johnson wrote during the Jacobean age, as well as John Donne, Francis Bacon, and Thomas Middleton. Caroline age of English literature coincides with the reign of Charles I from 1625 to 1649. The writers of the age wrote with refinement and elegance. The era produced a circle of poets known as Cavalier poets, and the dramatists of this age were the last two writers in the Elizabethan tradition. The Commonwealth period, also known as Puritan interregnum of English literature, includes the literature produced during the time of Puritan leader Oliver Cromwell. The period produced the political writings of John Milton, Thomas Hobbes' political treatise Leviathan, and the prose of Andrew Marvell. In September of 1942, the Puritans closed theatres on moral and religious grounds. For the next 18 years, the theatres remained closed, accounting for the lack of drama produced during this time period. New classical period of English literature, 1660 to 1785, was much influenced by contemporary French literature, which was in the midst of the Great Age. The literature of this time is known for its use of philosophy, reason, skepticism, wit, and refinement. The neoclassical period also marks the first great age of English literary criticism. Much like the English literary Renaissance, the neoclassical period can be divided into three subsets: the Restoration, the Augustan Age, and the Age of Sensibility. The Restoration, 1600 to 1700, is marked by the restoration of the monarchy and the triumph of reason and tolerance of religion and political passion. The Restoration produced an abundance of prose and poetry and distinctive comedy of manners known as Restoration comedy. It was during the Restoration that John Milton published Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. Other major writers of the era include John Dryden, John Wilmot, 2nd Earl of Rochester, and John Locke. The English Augustus age derives its name from the brilliant literary period of Virgil and Ovid under the Roman Emperor Augustus from 27 BC to 1480. In English literature, the Augustus age 1700 to 1745 refers to literature with the predominant characteristics of refinement, clarity, elegance, and the balanced judgment. Well known writers of the Augustan age include Jonathan Swift, Alexander Pope, and Daniel Defoe. A significant contribution of this time period, including the release of the first English novel by Defoe and the novel of characters Pamela by Samuel Richardson in 1740. During the Age of Sensibility, literature reflects the worldview of enlightenment and began to emphasize instinct and feelings rather than judgment and restraint. A growing sympathy for the Middle Ages during the Age of Sensibility sparked an interest in medieval ballads and folk literature. Another name for this period is the Age of Johnson, because the dominant author for this period was Samuel Johnson and his literary and intellectual this period also produced some of the greatest early novels of English language, including Richardson, Clarissa, 1748, and Henry Fielding's Tom Jones, 1749. Romantic period of English literature begins in the late 18th century and lasted until approximately 1832. In general, Romantic literature can be characterized by its personal nature, its strong use of feelings, its abundant use of symbolism, and its exploration of nature and the supernatural. In addition, the writings of Romantics were considered innovative based on their belief that literature should be spontaneous, imaginative, personal, and free. The Romantic period produced a wealth of authors including Samuel Taylor Coleridge, William Wordsworth, Jane Austen, and Lord Byron. It was during the Romantic period that Gothic literature was born. Traits of Gothic literature are dark and gloomy settings and characters and situations that are fantastic, grotesque, wild, savage, mysterious, and often melodramatic. Two of the most famous Gothic novelists are Anne Radcliffe and Mary Shelley. Victorian period of English literature began the occasion of Queen Victoria to the throne in 1837 and lasted until her death in 1901. Because the Victorian period of English literature spans over 6 decades, the year 1870 often used to divide the era into early Victorian and late Victorian. In general, Victorian literature deals the issues and problems of the day. Some contemporary issues that the Victorian dealt with include a social, economical, religious, and intellectual issues and problems surrounding industrial revolution, growing class tensions, the early feminist movement, pressure towards political and social reforms, and the impact of Charles Darwin's theory of evaluation on philosophy and religion. Some of the most recognized authors of Victorian era include Alfred Lord Tennyson, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, her husband Robert, Matthew Arnold, Charles Dickens, Charlotte Bronte, George Eliot, and Thomas Hardy. Within the Victorian period, the two other literary movements that the pre-Raphaelites from 1848 to 1860 and the movement of anticism and decades 1880 to 1900. Gabriel Rosti from the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, it was aimed this group to return painting a style of truthfulness, simplicity, and religious devotion that had regained prior to Raphael and the High Italian Renaissance. Rossetti and his literary circle, which includes his sister Christina, incorporated this deal into their literature, and the result was that of the literary pre-Raphaelites. It applies to British literature written since the beginning of World War I in 1940. The author of modern period have experimented with subject matter, form, and style and have produced achievements in all literary genres. Poets of the period include Yeats, T.S. Eliot, Dylan Thomas, Seamus Hanley. Novelists include James Joyce, D.H. Lawrence, and Virginia Woolf. Dramatists include Noel Coward and Samuel Beckett. Following World War II, 1939 to 1945, the postmodern period of British literature developed. Postmodernism blends literary genres and styles and attempts to break free of modernist forms. While the British literary scene at the turn of a new millennium is crowded and varied, the authors still fall into this category modernism and postmodernism. However, with the passage of time, the modern era may be recognized and expanded.